So today I want to talk about learning a language in a foreign country, and I'm going to talk about my own experience, but I'm going to do that through my favorite way, which is giving you tips. So some of them you may have heard before. I just want to reinforce those ideas, but a few things may be new, things that I've just discovered on my own while I've been living abroad that have been really helpful for me. I'm specifically learning Spanish in Costa Rica. But even if you're learning a different language in a different country, I think my tips will still apply. So let's get started. So my first tip is to surround yourself with the language. You may think that that's obviously going to happen when you move to a foreign country, but in my experience, it didn't. When I first got here, I actually met a handful of people that had been here 5, 6, 7 years and longer who hadn't really grown in their ability to speak Spanish at all. So I kind of realized really quickly that I needed to be intentional about my learning, particularly as an adult, because based on research, we just know that taking on a second language, the older you get, it just gets more difficult. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. So I found it really helpful to just surround myself. And what I mean by that is I'm watching TV in Spanish, I'm changing my Netflix to Spanish, I'm listening to Spanish podcasts. I'm really just trying to train my ear and my brain as much as possible. You really need a lot of exposure and just listening to the language before you can be expected to pick it up and start speaking. So it's important that you're really just surrounding yourself, whether you're at home, wherever you are, whatever opportunity you have to listen to that language, you should be doing that for sure. Second tip, so this is particularly if you're teaching abroad, like I was, is ask your students to help. Most of them will probably speak whatever the native language is, and they're so excited to teach their teachers something. They love it. I would have my kids give me a new word every day, and I would write it on a sticky note, put it on my desk, and be really intentional about using that word, and then they would always run in the room during breaks wanting to try and speak in Spanish, make sure I knew how to say the word or help me out. So it was just really great to have their support, and they got really excited about it. And that helped keep me accountable as far as my learning went. So that was really great. My third tip is probably pretty obvious, but I think it's worth reinforcing. While you're learning the language, have a teacher or a tutor who's working alongside you. Someone who knows the grammar, someone who knows the progression of learning a language, someone that you can practice speaking with who's going to correct your mistakes grammar-wise, pronunciation-wise, things like that. Someone who's going to give you assignments that involve reading and writing. These are important parts of learning a language, but they may not come naturally to you in your day-to-day life. So you want someone who's intentionally guiding you along that path. I have friends that speak Spanish, I'm listening to things in Spanish. I'm doing all this stuff throughout my day that involves Spanish, but it's really important that I have someone who can help me work on concrete things and set concrete goals. I've really seen the most growth in my language speaking abilities when I'm working alongside someone like a teacher or a tutor who's helping me do those things. So, last tip. This is my favorite tip, probably the one that took me longest to figure out, but stop saying things like, I don't speak fill in the blank language. So for example, when someone starts talking to me, I needed to stop saying, no hablo español. There's two reasons I say this. One, I really believe in the power of what we say, so the more and more I kept saying, I don't speak Spanish, the more it was becoming true and it became my reality. And that wasn't a good thing because that went against my goal. The second reason I share that is because it really changes the interaction you have with that person. One of two things is going to happen. One, they're going to stop speaking to you because they only speak Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, right, they can't communicate with you. Or second, they're going to switch to English. Now there are a lot of people, more than I thought, here that speak English. And they're going to switch to English and try and talk to me in English. So we may be communicating by then, but again, I'm not reaching my goal of learning how to speak in Spanish. So I've really had to stop myself because it was becoming a bad habit. I've had to stop myself from saying that, and instead I say, I am learning to speak Spanish. Yo estoy aprendiendo a hablar español. In that case, I'm opening the door to a conversation. I'm telling them, hey, you know what? I'm learning Spanish. It may not be perfect, but I'm inviting them to speak Spanish with me. And again, that just gives me more exposure. It gives me more time to hear and to listen. And that's the only way I'm going to grow. I'm not going to grow if I'm constantly walking around and saying, I don't speak Spanish. So really, if you don't do anything else, just adapt that mindset. Learn how to say in whatever language it is I am learning to speak, and just move forward with that. I really think that's the best way that you're going to find success. That's it. Those are my tips. So I hope you found them helpful. If you think I forgot anything, or if there's something that's really helped you when learning a language, add it to the comments below. But otherwise, happy learning.